Hey everyone, welcome back. You ready to dive deep into this?
Always ready.
All right. So today we're tackling a hot topic, the whole debate around security and what's happening down at the U.S. Mexico border.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there.
Oh, yeah. And we've got some great material to work with. We're looking at this article with a really provocative title. Um, Why did it take decades for America to protect its borders? Is this Trump's power play or a real solution? So,
Mm,
yeah, is sending troops to the border really going to fix things, or is it just a temporary show of force? That's what we're
yeah.
going to try to figure out.
Yeah, that's a big question. What really struck me in that article is how different this approach is. For
Yeah.
years, it's been mainly like civilian law enforcement dealing with issues at the border.
Right, Border Patrol and all that.
Exactly. But now we're seeing this major shift towards military involvement, and that raises a whole bunch of new questions.
It does. It kind of feels unprecedented.
Yeah.
So this article digs into Trump's executive order declaring a national emergency at the border. And it's fascinating because it basically tells the Department of Defense to step in and help Homeland Security gain, listen to this, complete operational control. Like, what does that even mean in practice?
Well, the order's got a whole laundry list of things they want to do, like reinforcing the barriers that are already there, bringing in all this high-tech stuff like surveillance drones.
Makes sense.
But it also wants to beef up what Customs and Border Protection can do.
CBP.
Yeah, CBP, they're the folks on the front lines every day dealing with asylum seekers, stopping illegal crossings, all of that.
Yeah, they've got a tough job.
So this order basically gives them more resources, more power to do what they do.
It's interesting because then we have this memo from CBS News, and they're talking about sending an extra 10,000 troops to the border. That brings the total to over 14,000. I
Yeah.
mean, think about that. That's more than we've got in Afghanistan right now.
Wow. Yeah, that's a massive increase, puts it right up there with some of the biggest military deployments we've seen inside the U.S. in a long time. And it's not just boots on the ground either. They're even talking about turning military bases into detention centers to handle all the migrants coming in.
Wow.
Then you've got states like Texas. They're taking matters into their own hands, sending in the National
Their
Guard,
state militia. Yeah.
right, reinforcing parts of the border with razor wire. It's really a sign of how seriously they're taking this whole thing.
Yeah, it's almost like a wartime effort.
Yeah.
But obviously it's not a war in the traditional sense.
Right.
And that's where you get this huge divide in public opinion. The article talks about people who are all for this, saying it's about time we took border security seriously. What are some of the arguments they're making?
Well, they point out that drug cartels and human traffickers have been running rampant along the border, basically doing whatever they want. They see this military presence as the only way to really crack down on these criminal networks. You know, like finally take back control. They also say that past presidents just haven't done enough to secure the border.
Hmm. Yeah. And the article makes a point of saying that this has left border communities vulnerable, law enforcement stretched thin. I mean, it's a lot to handle.
It is.
But then you have the other side, right? The critics who think this is more about politics than finding a real solution.
Absolutely. They see this as a really expensive and probably ineffective way to deal with a really complex problem. Plus, they're worried about human rights violations.
Makes sense. You've got the military doing the job of civilian law enforcement. That's tricky territory.
Yeah, it is. And another big point they make is that sending troops doesn't get to the root of why people are migrating in the first place. Like, you're not solving poverty, gang violence, all this stuff pushing people out of Central America.
It's true. The article mentions that a lot of these migrants are running from dangerous situations back home.
Hmm.
They're dealing with poverty, lack of opportunity, violence. They don't just decide to cross the border illegally on a whim.
Right.
I mean, many are seeking asylum. That's a legal process to find safety in another country if you're being persecuted or you're afraid of being persecuted.
It's a big deal, and the critics are saying that just focusing on enforcement misses the bigger picture.
Yeah.
They say we should be helping those countries, investing in their economies, making them safer, and fixing our asylum process, making it more efficient, more humane, so people can actually get refuge legally.
So really, it's not just about how many troops are at the border. It's about what a smart and ethical approach to border security looks like, and about understanding the realities of migration, the challenges, and the humanitarian crises driving it.
Definitely. It's a conversation that requires, well, nuance.
Mhm.
We have to be open to different viewpoints. And honestly, it's something that affects all of us.
It does. So with all this in mind, I mean, what other things should we be considering when we talk about border security? What questions should we be asking ourselves, both individually and as a nation?
Yeah, that's a great question to leave our listeners with. I mean, it's a complex issue and it's not going away anytime soon.
Definitely not. Something to think about, for sure. Thanks for diving into this with me.
My pleasure.
Always great chatting with you.
All right.
We'll see you folks next time.
See ya.